before that, I have a few good submission. Where's my... you guys all on Slack, right? Why do I only have 13 members? Who's still not in? Are you all in? Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at week 1, right? Let's have a little discussion here. What are some of the most challenging things? Anyone want to volunteer something? What's the most difficult part about the homework? Does it suck? Maybe that's one. Like, oh, homework sucks. Okay.
Relationship between the element and the shortcut.
Okay, relationship between model and
shortcut.
what do you mean by a shortcut?
It is like a form for.
Ah, okay. So these are like magic, right? So let's see. Can you give me an example? So let's say food item is food item model. Okay. So what are the shortcuts that you were talking about? Okay. So if you use form for, so for example here, let's call it order, right? Okay. So let's say if you have a new order, if you have an order.new here, right? And let's say in this order, you have column like name, customer address, something like that. If you if you support only one food item, then you can put food item ID here. Just if you buy anything, there's only one order. But if not, then you have to put it in another table. So let's simplify it right now. If you do a form for order, right? So you're saying it's not clear where this goes to. Is that your question? The challenging part?
It is in the menu. I want to let the form for the new order.
Yeah. Okay. But you know that if you use this, you have to define it, and usually you define it in the controller. Everyone's clear about that, right? So let's say this is on your, some of you it may be on your orders new page, some of you it may be on menu page, right? Some of you may call it checkout. I don't care, right? Now in this form 4, what people find confusing is where does it submit, right? And some people make a mistake of writing a form tag here. Form 4 actually generate a form tag, so you should only put div, and then inside this div there's a form, right? Of course, you may not need a div at all. This is only if you put it in something like I don't know, maybe form container or something. So what does this guy do? This generate a form action, and then type or something. That's pretty much, that's all you care about. This one gives you this one. Make sense? But we don't know what this action is. This action is the path that that's the magic part that you ask. If you have a new order, so if this order ID is nil, it means this is order.new, right? So it means if you have this, where do you think it should go? It will go to orders. And what is it? It will go to orders controller and create action. So in Ruby, this is how you call an instance method. Well, this is how you represent. Okay, so you can say orders controller, that's the name of the class, and this is the name of the action. Or it's a method, right? So we tend to write like that. But in the routes, we even write shorter, like this, right? Just know that this refers to between the class and the method, yeah? If it's a class method, then you call, let's say, remember section dot generate default. This is a class method, so you write as section, yeah? The dot, okay? This is both how you call it and how you represented. If you have a instance method, you don't write, this is how you say, oh, this is an instance method. But to call it, let's say maybe summary or total price or some, this is order total price, right? That is how you write it. This is, I have an instant method. But to call it, you actually have to call it on an instance of the order, right? Okay, so that was, sorry, I was just explaining why I write things this way, right? One time, and you can see it. Okay, so back to this. Now, if order is something like you say, I get the last order, or maybe I get the current order, or maybe you can say find, and then you go to a certain order, and you want to update this order. Some of you who do this, it's actually, you store the order ID. After today, it will be clearer. That's why it was optional. We didn't teach this, but you can store it in the session. Okay? And while the user is still working on that order, it's in the session. If the user finish, delete it from the session. So if you have this order, the same code, where do you think it goes? Where do you think this one will go? It will generate something called this. Let's say the ID is that. And this is now something like this. Right? It's actually now Ruby does it as batch, but it sends a post request. Just like that. Your search form, because you're not submitting it to any, you're not grouping. And in here, right, when you submit, it groups everything under order. Right? So let's say order name. Right? So params order is actually a hash. So something like name, address. If you submit a form. Does it make sense? Same thing down here, right? So that is form 4. Automatically group everything under this. Okay? So if you here, you say f.text field order, name, this is customer name, right? Then down here, it will say, it will generate input type text. Is it string? And then down here, it's actually value, I think name. It means you're submitting to orders name. Does that make sense? So there's a value. Value is nothing at first, but if you edit it, it will submit it to orders name. That's how it works. You can call it like that. So that's a hash. Is it clear? Now for form 4, it groups under that. This word is because it knows the name of the model, this order. Now I have a video on how to do search. You submitting to itself, but then you say method get. It means you're submitting a get, right? Submitting to itself with a get. Then the thing down here is called form, and then it just submit to nothing, which is submitting to itself. Action, not class. Submit to itself, and method here is get. Form. Okay. And here then you cannot use f.text field. You have to use, who know what to use here? Text field tag. Okay? And we handle this a bit today. So let's say query. So this is your search query. And this generates the same thing up there, but except this is what? Query. That's in your controller. Then you can only ask for query directly like that. There's no param something query. Okay? So back to your question. This automatically check. It check whether it has an ID or not. If there's an ID, it's a post request to a create action. If it doesn't, then it can go to if it doesn't have an ID here, it's a new record. It goes here. If it has an ID, then this is update, right? It's an update action. So controller here will be, maybe we call it orders controller, update action. And then in this guy, you can call params, right? So this guy you can have that. Down up here is submitting to create. Okay. In this guy, you also have one more thing. It's called params ID. What is params ID? It's actually 1, 2, 3 because this is the ID in the URL. Any questions about this one? Okay. Now, what if you want to submit somewhere else? So this, let's say if you already have an order and you want to submit somewhere else, then just pass the URL to it. Checkout path or something like that. Okay? Something like maybe confirm checkout path. So it should be something that is a patch put request. Okay? You can just normally, if you, oh, I only have a post request, no problem, just say post. Okay? Get request, when it hit the server, don't change data. Post request, put patch, they change data. Alright? Just like, and delete as well. Is that clear? Now how this one works, it actually, there's a method within this guy that convert into the path. I think you guys don't have to worry about it yet, but Rails active model conversion. Maybe it's good to just explain it. So it will do something like, it has a few of these. So there's a 2 partial path. So let's say similarly, when you do with partial, when you say render order, right? It actually asks order. It actually asks order dot to partial path, and this one actually give you order slash order, and that's how it knows where to find the file. So this is called conversion. I think so. There's a model here, but where is the path? There's another guy. I forgot what are all the models in this guy. So maybe there's a way to look at it. Oh, so slow. Okay, so hang out with this Rails. Hang out with and have a hang of this, and then ask more questions when you're curious about what the magic are.
When should we use form tag and
Good point.
should we use form for?
In form tag, you don't have a model. You just, when you submit this a regular query, that's okay. Sometimes for simple things. But if you have all the information contained in a model, then you use form for. You're grouping them together. If you try to do just a simple search like this and you don't have a search model, how can you use form for, right? Notice the different syntax, okay? Form tag, this is the path. You pass in the path directly. Form for, you have to use URL. Okay, that's, as you use it, you will know. Does that make sense? Okay, another thing about homework. So relationship between model and a few magic. 2 magic here. One is where to submit a form, and then where to render the partial. Okay, what's another thing that you can share? Any other difficult things about the homework?
Maybe we can talk about the way we attack the relationship between 2 models.
Okay, so relationship between 2 model.
Yeah, and see there's, I don't know how it works, but there's a double around to attack the
Attach, okay.
model, which I don't know.
Right, so let's say we have, now this one we're going to do something more complicated. Maybe This is, we have a food item. Okay, we have let's make it up. Can you guys all see? Is their font big enough? Yeah. Okay, so let's say we have an order, and I need to show you how to do attachment, right?
Like maybe an order.
We need something to have has many. Oh, so let's just do this simple thing and food item. Okay. So what are the columns inside this guy? Right? It's just one column, name, string. Right? What are the columns inside this guy? Section ID, integer, and then maybe name, right? String, right? So because you have section ID, then this one belongs to section, right? And I told you this means optional is false, right? So it's require that. So just know that. Don't worry so much about it. This one you can do has many food items, right? And of course here you may later you might have to specify this often. Now because you have this, then when you say section is section.find 1, 2, 3, or let's say get the last section, okay? Section dot food items now return an array, right? But it's the magical array. So when you say food item is this food item dot last, or you can say food item dot create. You know, name is new roll. You know, new California roll or something like that, and it's like a new dish, right? And you want to maybe price is 100. You want to add to this section. Does that make sense? So let's say I just get section dot create here, name maybe hot stuff. Yeah. So you want to add to it. So obviously this is now an empty array. How do you do it? Actually, I don't like doing it very much, but if you do this, it just means that you're pushing this item into the section. Okay? But that's not all. This operator does one more thing. So what it is to do, add food item to, you know, section.foodItems array, and it also saves to database. So when you do this, what happens to food item? It will actually set food item dot section ID to be section. It actually set this, and then it also reload this guy. Does that make sense? So sometimes if you don't like this, another way is as simple as food item. So let's say if you don't understand this operator, no problem. I don't like magic. I say section is section. And then you say food item dot save. Right? But after you do dot save, section dot food items, it's cached. It's the old value. It doesn't know yet. So sometimes you have to say section.reload, and then you say section.foodItems. So this line is the same as these 4 lines. Okay? Cool. Let's see if I can find the active model, the thing that gives us, so that I have conversion, that I have validation, so naming. And oh, someone asked me, right, Kian, right, where are you, right? So how does it know? This guy, that's a naming model. It actually knows how to convert from singular to plural. So active record has a lot of smart things in it, and this is one of the module. Active model is inside active record. Okay, so this is how you convert a regular Ruby model to have some property similar to active record, but you don't have a table. Remember, you don't have, you don't have this. Instead of doing this, which add, application record, right? And this application record actually inherit from active record base. So that's how it works. And then in active record base, it actually uses active model and a bunch of them. Okay. Anyway, if you like it, over time you can read this up. Don't worry about them for now. Okay. Anything else? Anything interesting you want to share? Some of you did the multiple items per order. Sorry, it's in the bonus, so it's meant to be hard. If you only do the required, then you just can do. So, multiple order, right? If you just do this stupid way, then you just have this, and you can just have here, you can say an order can be in many, an item can be in many order, but in this order, you just have belongs to item, right? So this one is quite cool that you can do things like in the route, then you can just go to food items 123/order/new. This is called nested routes, but then this gives you the food item ID, and then you can create an order, right? So this is the one food item per order way. And so let me put this in here. How about multiple or items? Alright, so Long, you want to share your approach? Food item here. You have something called order item or order detail, and then you have this called order, right? Okay, so in this guy, what other columns do you have? You have a column called food item ID, and then you also have a column called this order ID. So then this allows you to have, say, has many order items, right? You can actually say you haven't learned this yet, but has many food items through order item. So you don't worry about this one yet, okay? And this, anything else in here, maybe you can add something like quantity, right? Up here you can still have quantity. So, but you can only have the same quantity of the same thing. Quantity, right? Now this discount, it depends. So some of you can apply many discount if you want, or you just have a discount code column, right? There are two ways. So if you have sometimes you can use a lot of coupons. This is if you want to support this, it becomes more and more complicated. All right. Anything else? You all understand the path thing now a little bit better? We will understand nested routes this time, but I won't cover that much. Who here use where and order in your homework? Raise your hand. Should be all your hands. Come on. All right, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Now, if you use flash messages, open your arms like this. But if you don't, then you do this. All right. So some of you don't use flash messages this time, right? Okay. And who here understand this guy? Params.require. Who here doesn't understand? Let's see if you're brave enough to. Don't understand. Fist. Fist. Okay. Good. So we'll cover these today. But yeah, same problem some Saigon people also have. Just don't do these things, okay? If you have JavaScript not working, it's either you didn't include tether properly, or you compile your files and then you push to Heroku.
One more thing with the recompile, that's about in the for Rails application yes, they have a require tree and dot. And it automatically concat all the script files between, for example, in contact page, I have one single script.
Yep.
But if you run double time, because it's also compiled into the application.js.
That's correct. So, what should we do?
I remove it, and I remove the line on the,
okay.
the required tree, and then I use it in this.
Okay. Now, Why do you do that? Is that because of Google Maps?
Yeah, because of Google Maps.
Okay. So let's revisit this topic. If I want to use a certain JS file in one specific view file only, right? How do I do it? Now, first thing you should ask is, why would you want to do that? And then if you still say, no, because I really want to do it, and then, I will cover this next time. In most cases, just put them there, right? Same with CSS. And then you may think, oh, but we can talk about but. In most cases, it's okay. Some cases, maybe, in your Google Maps, they have some API code that you don't want to load somewhere else. Maybe. External, yes. But internal, just put everything in one. Okay? For the purpose of this class. When you join a big company, they have better practices. I can share some practices at the end of the class as well. Course is much later. Okay, let's look at some of the nicer submission. Let's see. I put them somewhere. Let me try to find it. Okay, so where is the two? This is yours, right? So I think this one is really cool. Unfortunately, the GIF here is it's a big file, right? So this is quite nice, very nice. Wow, right? So and I think it just takes some time to load. And here's another one. I think I need to get your repo so I can maybe show the GIF. Okay, is it loading? So in the meantime, you can also see, where's Chung? Alright, so you guys sit next to each other. This is another cool one. I noticed you guys have the cart option. This is sexy. Add to cart and this increase 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so some of this filter is very nice. Yeah, I think the UI is pretty slick. Tools one, let me open that. Just this one, right? Okay, something like that. Okay. How do I make it full screen or bigger? Not sure. So notice if they also implement a lot of optional features. It's very nice. The adding, so this one include it must be a form, right? The order form, quantity, and you add it. So check them out. There's I also mentioned some best, so I keep them here. Oops. If you look at our lecture notes, I also included some best submission from last time. Did you guys see it at the end of the homework? So some of them are here, some quite good as well. I'll give you some inspiration to like next time. But yeah, these two are the best this time. Good job. Okay. Anyone else has your submission maybe interesting you want me to share with the class? No? There's some nice one, but they didn't implement too many optional features. So Kian's one is yeah. Don't be shy. Kian's one is very pretty, but you only implement some required. Yeah. So these guys did a lot. Really cool. Better than what I can implement. So good job there.
So the question one, to implement the multi-food item in one order, is there any way to set using sessions?
Yes, this is a great question. Maybe I should show you guys here. I help some of you, and I choose to do a simple way. But let's see. Session is probably the best way. Some of you feel like, oh, I don't want to create an empty, order. The idea is that when you're visiting a page, there should be only one cart, right? So you can call this a cart or you can call it an order. It's up to you. Some people like to implement cart, and when you check out a cart, it becomes an order. So to simplify, I call everything as an order, right? Hey, sir, ma'am, can I take your order? So then you automatically create an order called name, maybe guest, address, like, fill it out, something like that. So I create that when you visit a page and I remember it, right? But to remember it, I need to know what is this guy's order whenever he's on the website. So it has to be accessible from the view and accessible from the controller. Does that make sense? Sometimes you have to do something with the order in the controller. It means change the data. Sometimes you have to deal with the order in the view. It means showing the data. So in our application controller, all know this file, right? So I say, you just implement the method called current order. If this user visits for the first time, then you just create a new order, empty order for the user. Yes, you can also do a new, and that's all. I don't care. If this person just refresh the page, go to a different link, you just keep it the same. Now, in the ideal world, let's say in an easy world, I only have one user on my website. Okay, how would you do it? I just say, this guy probably is just updating his last order. Right, I only have one user, which is me. So I just do that, and then someone else call, hey, I tried to add my order, and then there's already stuff in it. I was like, uh-oh. That's when different people with different browser session. So you can use the session. Now let's say, even if it's one person, after you finish ordering, right, you want to come back and order, you don't want to add to the old one. So you want last, but you actually, the approach I say is maybe this order is the order that's open, okay? You get the last unopened order. When the guy check out, just close that order. Make sense? Now this method is not good enough for multiple user, so let's do multiple user. Then it's as simple as this. If there's nothing in the session, if there's nothing in the session, then there's, if there is something in the session, then you just say find that order and return for me, right? This is optional, and I just say find session order ID. If there's nothing, then what do you do? Okay, let's create a new one. So for now, you can say, guest or something like that, right? There are better ways, but this is not ideal. You should tell me what are the limitations. But for now, this will be pretty good. What's next? After you create it, you have to put it back in the session. Does that make sense? And you also have to return the order. The last value is the return value. Last value. Okay? What if I call current order multiple times in the controller and in the view? Just call it current order is, current order is. You don't want it to do order define every time. So you just say, hey, if there's a value, then, right? But because I shouldn't need to do anything else, I should do it outside. So if they say return order, if there's already an order, it's like it's a variable, instance variable. So you don't have to do order define anymore. But if there's no, this is the first time you call it in the controller, in the view, first time when you visit the page, then it will run down here, check the session. If it find it, it's great. If not, it just create this order ID until whenever you delete it later, when the user log out or the user finish something, okay? So let's say if I have an orders controller, maybe you have a custom method called checkout, which is like confirm to pay, right? This is when you mark something like, oh, okay, let me get my current order, right? And actually I'm saying this customer just paid. So maybe, maybe you can say paid at or something like that, right? And it's done. So now you need to clear order. Okay? You can call clear order here, but this guy, because he inherit from application controller, so you can implement clear order here or clear cart. It's the same thing. And in its clear, what is it? You just say session order ID is nil. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, over time, if you have a million users come to your site, you actually create this a million times, and most of them are meaningless. So that's we can worry about that later. This is only first week of Ruby. Okay. Multiple ways. Okay. So clear order you can write here. In fact, there's anything else? I think that's okay, right?
Quick one is, so when we create an order variables for top controller, like application controller, so the children one can understand that?
Yeah. Because this guy, well, it's only yes because I call this, okay, sorry. This is very confusing. It only understands if you call that method. So let me name this something else. You should name it the same as the thing you want to use. Okay, so name it, this is current. This is very different from the variable down here, okay? Yeah, thank you for that question. Okay, this is much better, easier to understand. Now, how can the view understand it? So what is the view? App views, orders, let's say checkout. And then say here's the get request, and then this is confirm checkout is the post request. In some languages like PHP, Django, you submit to the same action. In Rails encourage you to submit 2 different actions. So get is a different action. It's just cleaner code that way. So it's like that. So if you want this checkout page, if you want to submit, it's quite easy. Form for what? Order. But then you pass the URL, confirm, checkout, path, something like that, right? You can define this route, okay? Now, in order to have this order, obviously it will fail if you don't define anything. So one way is, for this guy, you can call order here, equals current order. This way, the view never have to worry about what the current order is, okay? Usually that's better. However, if you don't want to write any code here, you can actually write current order. Okay. But for this current order to be understood, you have to tell this application controller, this guy should be a private method, okay? Oops. Because you don't want it to be an action, right? Just a private. And you say helper method current order. So this guy make current order a helper method that the view can use. Okay? We will use it again now. Don't worry if you only understand 50%. Okay? If you only understand 10%, you can stand up and go home now. I'm just kidding. You still can stay here. Alright. I was afraid maybe the whole class will stand up and go home. Then I will be very sad. Yeah. So you have access to this page. Over time, any lecture stuff, it automatically get posted to our playlist. So if you miss class or some part you're not sure, click on it and you can skip to the code part. Don't watch the whole thing. Just you can skip there. Okay. You can also make it talk faster. There's the play X thing. So feel free to follow that. Right. Okay. So. Talk about authentication today. What is authentication? Authentication is asking, who are you? Okay? Done. That's just authentication. Right? This is your ID, blah, blah, blah. Right? You give me the passport, you give me the ID, it's just, who are you? That is authentication. But your passport, I can see that, it's from what country and what authority give you the stamp. It's like you having the key to the house. That's authentication, right? But what can you do with your passport, right? I have my Vietnamese passport. That's authentication. But authorization, if I go to America, they will say, no, go home. Where's your visa? So that's authorization. So authentication, there's some gems, but we will implement it ourselves. Most of the time, the device is very popular, but it's also very complicated. It gives you all the views, controller, and everything. Just use it, it's fine. But sometimes it's better to just do it to understand. If you like exploring, in our class, most of the time just use this device and we can provide support. Only in homework 2, you have to do it yourself, okay? Start from scratch, right? Now, there's authorization, which I didn't, we actually may not have time in here. Authorization is, what can you do? Are you a teacher? Are you a principal? Are you a student? Are you a parent? They have different access, right, to a school website. Same with, Google Apps and everything. You guys know that. So, authentication. Why is it important? Well, it's important because it always happens. Nowadays, pretty much, authentication is important to present sensitive data. That's good. Why is understanding authentication important? It's so easy to be hacked. So many Vietnamese websites, you can go to maybe some movie ticket website, some chat room. You probably see the blog post, right?
Yeah.
You're laughing. Are you the one who wrote that blog post?
Yes.
Are you?
No.
No. Okay. So there's like different. There's some Vietnamese guy wrote a blog post about hacking a Lotte Cinema website. Huh?
No, I mean like mine is a big on the side.
Okay. So is that yours?
No, I don't do that.
Now, but the site that got hacked? Everyone got hacked. What's that? Have I been this one, right?
Yeah.
You know this site? Put your email in here, and then it will notify you. But look, LinkedIn got hacked, and by the most stupid problem. They encrypt the password, but they don't change. They use first they use SHA, and then they also don't use a custom salt. So then someone discover, and basically it means I know how you encrypt your password. So I have a dictionary here. I just encrypt all of this, and then I try. So what happens? They get the encrypted password, but they just need to compare with all the ones that the machine generate, and then you can find. Oh, this person used the word "I love my mom" in the password because the encryption is the same. So it's very stupid. That's why we need the salt idea. But you see, Dropbox, LinkedIn. If you put your email in here, there's a chance yours may be affected. If you use, let's say, your Gmail password, and you just go to a movie ticket website, and you're like, oh, it hurts my brain to think of a new one, so you put your Gmail password in there. The next day, they realize that the movie website store your password as a text. So now whoever hacked that website, basically just go to Dropbox, Gmail, Facebook, and just try that password. Right? It's so cheap to try, and then you're gone. Like, it's easy to be gone like that. Sometimes you think it's not important. You get your own domain name on GoDaddy or Matbao, right? That password is important. If you accidentally use the same password on another site that got hacked, they hack your GoDaddy, then they go in there, they change your domain to use a different DNS. Now they hack your email because you have myname.com, right? And then my email is harley@myname.com. But when you email this, someone already hacked the GoDaddy or other Namecheap or Matbao website to point it to their own email server, and then they just get your password reset emails to all your bank account and everything. It can happen. Right? Maybe it's not that hard to hack your domain. Go to GoDaddy, call them, say, hey, I forgot my password, but my birthday is, something like that, and then they will give you. So let's be careful. At least we are responsible. If you're a web developer, you ever store your password in plain text, it means, it means something really bad, right? It means you're an idiot. All right. So there's a bit of this interesting bit if you want to read. All right, but we will code our assignment from scratch so that we understand how it works. Let's take 5-minute breaks, and then I'll do the homework walkthrough.